Okay, good evening, everybody. A big welcome and thank you very much for joining us tonight. My name's Oliver Wright. I'm the chair of the Brooklyn Solid Waste Advisory Board, and we want to give you a big welcome to this, which is the third session that we're hosting with community boards. The series is called Let's Talk About Trash, Waste a Little Time with Us. We've had a couple of sessions up to now where we've delved into some of the issues that community boards face, and we're going to explore them a little bit more tonight. So again, a big thank you for connecting with us and joining us. We really appreciate it. I'm going to hand over to Mark Hellerman, who is going to be our chair for tonight, or our moderator. Mark is a member of the Brooklyn SWAB. He's also a professor at City Tech and a fanatical composter, so he'll be in very good hands. We've got a number of things that we're going to run through, so without further ado, I will hand over to you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Oliver. I am fanatical, and usually you run these things, so I hope I can keep it together as well as you have in the past. I'm not sure that I'll be able to. Welcome all of you. It's great to see a lot of community boards represented here. Very soon you're going to have an opportunity to talk about your biggest challenge in terms of waste and trash. You'll all have a minute to do that. Before we go into that, I want to just give a nice welcome to Joan Burns-Daly from the sanitation department. She's going to be giving a very brief presentation on the new put out your garbage rules that are going into effect very soon. I'll appreciate you being here, Joan. It's great that you could fit it into your schedule. And I'd like to just talk briefly about what the BkSWAB is. Brooklyn SWAB is the Solid Waste Advisory Board, as a lot of you know. It's a volunteer advisory board dedicated to helping the borough of Brooklyn contribute to New York City-wide zero waste goals. We care about these waste issues that affect our borough, and we work towards increasing community engagement to transform New York City into a place where material recovery is part of our culture. We do advise the Brooklyn Borough President and city officials on policies and programs regarding New York City's waste prevention, reuse, and recycling. We're a board comprised of a diverse group of solid waste management industry leaders, waste reduction consultants, sustainability professionals, concerned citizens, a few odd professors like myself, and our public monthly meetings are held the first Monday of each month. They're on Zoom. They're at 6:30 p.m. and everyone is welcome to attend. Often they're a lot of fun. Well, I think they are anyway. Very soon we're going to be hearing briefly from BP Reynoso's office. I think his policy director, Lacey Tauber, is here. But before we do that, I'd like to, if it's okay with everybody, turn it over to Joan from DSNY, and you can share your screen. I know you said you've got about a 2-minute presentation on how to put out our trash, so it's in your hands.
Great, thank you so much. So my name is Joan Burns-Daly. I'm Director of Community Affairs for the Department of Sanitation. I'm joined tonight by Assistant Commissioner Bubemi Okotiro. Bubemi, you want to say hello? Let me unmute you.
Mute me, I guess. Hello, hi, I'm the second Joan. How's everybody doing?
Oh, all right. So I'm just going to briefly go through our set out time presentation so that everyone can have another reminder that we are changing the times waste needs to be set out effective April 1st. It's currently, New York City's set out time is currently the earliest of any major city in the United States. And we're excited that this new rule is going to reduce the time that trash obstructs the sidewalks, making our streets cleaner and reducing rats. Residents have 2 options to set out their recycling, trash, and composting after 6 p.m. in a container with a lid of 55 gallons or less, or after 8 p.m. if you're putting black bags directly on the curb. similar to now, all waste must be out by midnight so that we can do collection on the overnight shift when we have that schedule. I wanted to make sure everybody's aware there's an alternate set out time option. So buildings with 9 or more residential units can opt in each year for a 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. set out time. The website is on the slide here. Every January, we'll accept these applications. In February, we'll figure out the efficient routes, and then in March, we'll notify people that they were put onto a route. I see a hand. I'm just going to hold questions till the end if that's okay. It's a really brief slideshow here. Businesses that place waste out at the curb have 2 options also. This similarly applies to their trash recycling and composting. And they can set it out in a bin 1 hour before the business closes or in a bag at 8 p.m. or later. Excuse me. Containers have to be removed from the curb when the business reopens in the morning. We are conducting outreach to residents and businesses. We've held dozens of info sessions. We've been to all of the community boards. We've sent out mailings. We've made lots of phone calls, not only to 10+ unit buildings, but also to civic associations and other community groups. And we've run a paid media campaign. If you've seen this presentation before, this is a new slide. Based on feedback from businesses and residents, we are announcing that there'll be a 1-month grace period to allow time for people to adjust to the new rule. We won't be doing any summonses until May 1st. So during the month of April, there'll be written warnings, and the warnings are going to be tracked, and those will be the first places we go back to in May when we are issuing summonses for compliance. So that's the end of my slideshow. Just the office phone number and email if you need it. Mark, do you want to?
Thank you. I think, I think we could probably take a few questions. There were, there's some people with their hands up, and
Sure.
I don't see who they are right now with their hands up, but I thought there were.
Lolita?
Yeah, hi. Yes, hi. Thank you for the presentation, and also thank you for extending the courtesy to the businesses and building owners to extend this rule. Because, my concern is, and I wrote to Lacey about it a few times, there's the situation with the multi-story buildings. Most of the maintenance crew is left out like at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So if we need to put out the trash after 8 and before 12, we would have to keep a special crew at night to do so. That's number one. That's an extra expense for the buildings. The second concern is the amount of noise that people will be, not people, but, okay, for instance, from 8 to 10, they put out the trash, for instance, but the trucks will be coming overnight to collect it. That's going to be a lot of noise. I know we live in New York City. I know the noise is noise, but, the trucks are going up and down the streets midnight, collecting trash. That will create a lot of issues with quality of life of people who needs to go to work next morning. Even it's less time for the trash to stay outside on the street, believe me, the rats will adjust to this. They will come in 1 hour, in 15 minutes. But I feel that, it's going to be adding the extra burden to the buildings and to the businesses. To me,
Thank you.
I don't think it's going to create a big deal with the rats, but it's going to add a little extra burden.
Thank you.
We understand that there's a burden, and I definitely think that the benefit will outweigh the burden. And we're hoping to see a lot less sidewalk obstruction so that people in wheelchairs and pushing carriages and whatnot throughout that 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. period are going to see a lot less trash on the curb.
Anything else for Joan? Thanks for that. It's very useful, and I'm glad that we're going to have a 1-month grace period. Any other questions? I see we've got something from Teresa. Did you have a quick question?
Yes. What about recycle? Will the time that recycle be put curbside change also?
Yes, everything is going to follow the new rules. Bundled cardboard can go out when you're setting the rest of your trash and recycling out. So if you choose to do bins at 6 p.m., you can put your bundled cardboard with that. If you choose to do bags at 8 p.m., you can put your bundled cardboard out then. But the metal, glass, and plastic, if it's in a bin, 6 p.m. If it's in a bag, 8 p.m.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We've got a question from, is it Gil? Am I pronouncing that right?
Giles, yep.
Giles, okay.
Yep. Yeah, I had a question. So I live at the corner of Brooklyn and Eastern Parkway. We've got a neighbor here that's a yeshiva, as well as like a banquet hall and everything else. They produce, as you might expect, quite a bit of garbage, and they do not have a dumpster, and they haven't had a dumpster going back to 2012. So they have like a chain link fence that's a part of their kids' playground, and they throw all the garbage from there into the playground, and it sits there for a week, and then the Department of Sanitation comes with sometimes up to 3 trucks, because that's how much it is. And there's guys hucking the bags into the backs of the trucks and hauling it away. And during the week, of course, we just have rats everywhere. So they had this initially from 2012 until 2022. They had the situation happening along the Eastern Parkway right next to their school. Now they moved it onto Brooklyn Avenue, which is 2 houses down from my front door. And so we have garbage running down our sidewalk every day, and it's just a filthy mess. And I've gone through every imaginable avenue that I can think of to try to get somebody to help out and get them to get a dumpster. And so I'm wondering if the Department of Sanitation, who's facilitating this, can help in some way. And
I can take that back and look into it and see what conversations have already been had internally, since I'm not familiar with this specific location.
okay.
You want to put your contact information in the chat? I will.
I'd love to, because I mean,
back to you.
and I guess just one really simple question. Businesses do have to have a dumpster, correct?
No, they don't have to have a dumpster.
So could I dump all my garbage uncontained onto my stoop and let it sit there for a week in garbage
So you're
bags?
supposed to set out your waste the night before collection after, now 8 p.m. if you're setting it out in bags. So it's not
Okay.
supposed to sit out for a week. It's supposed to be out the night before collection. So
Okay, so
I'm
but a
not
business is
familiar
allowed
with
to
the location.
store. Okay, well, we can email about it.
yeah,
I'd like
I
to
think
get your input, because it's like, I feel like I'm going crazy, because I've been tackling this for more than a year, and everybody that I've talked to is just like, yeah, they said they're going to fix it, which they've been saying they're going to fix it, and they're just not fixing it. They're clearly not getting fined. Yep.
Thank you, Giles. Yeah, put your information in the chat so you guys can move forward on this. That would be great. Thank you. I'd like to move on to Robert. Do you have a question also? Can we unmute Robert? There we go.
Okay, thanks. Quick question. Yeah, I have the old school garbage pails that have separate lids. There's no hinging apparatus. I wouldn't want to put my pails with lids on them on the curb, because I'll probably lose the lids pretty quickly. So I'm okay switching to garbage bags. I'm just wondering if there are specs for the garbage bags. I know there are rat-resistant garbage bags out there, or just any kind of bag.
I would not endorse any rat-resistant garbage bag. Personally, garbage bags to me. As the Department of Sanitation, we're not endorsing private businesses that are, saying they're rat-resistant or not. But bags, however, bags are black bags for garbage, clear bags for recycling. That's generally the rule.
Okay, we just follow the existing regulations. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
I'm asking Hazel to unmute. Hazel Martinez.
Oh, yes. I live in CB17, and we sometimes have sporadic garbage pickup. So my concern is when we put out this garbage, even if it's at 8 o'clock, sometimes it's there until 6 p.m. the next day, or maybe sometimes it's been there in the past for over a week and it's not been picked up by sanitation. And how is this going to alleviate the rat situation?
So if you're having missed collection issues, definitely be reporting that through 311 so that we can keep track of all of those numbers and make sure that, you know, the truck routes are getting to all of their stops and that there's not some bigger picture issue happening in your area. I'm sure, you know, if there's a specific location that's regularly missing collections, I'm happy to talk about that offline.
Well, are you going to adjust the sanitation pickup times to go with this, or they're still going to be out there all night anyway, the garbage?
So we are putting more collections on the overnight schedule, but not all of our collections will be overnight. So we are working through, you know, getting the trash out later so that when we do pick it up, it'll have been there for less time.
Thank you, Joan.
You're welcome, Mark.
And thanks for your question, Hazel. I've one more question from Vanessa, and then I think we're going to move on, if that's okay with everybody.
She just
Vanessa, you
answered
got
my
something?
question about the collection times. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay, good. So we're good on that. And Lolita, you've got your hand up, but I think you already had your question. So I think we're probably ready to move on to the next phase here, if that's okay with everybody, which means I just wanted to introduce Lacey from BP Reynoso's office. The borough president couldn't make it here today. But Lacey is here to hear all of our comments, and I'm sure she's going to be all ears when all the CBs have an opportunity to talk about their challenges. Lacey, do you want to say a quick hello?
Yeah, I just want to say hi to everyone. My name is Lacey Tauber. I'm the legislative director at Borough Hall, for those of you who I haven't met. So I work with the SWAB. I'm the office's rep for Community Board 4. So I see at least one CB4 person in the house. And just really happy to kind of bring together the boards and the SWAB, all the things that, you know, our office is a convener of. And I apologize that the BP couldn't be here, but I'm going to take some notes and we're going to take back what we hear. So I just really also just want to plug for those of you who are, you know, interested in this and want to get more involved. The SWAB is always open to taking new members. We are just like kind of going through the application and reapplication process right now, since we're in, you know, a new term, and so we're looking for some new folks. So I would encourage you to consider applying, and maybe Sherry can share the link at some point, so you can take a look at that.
Thank you. Thanks, Lacey. I'm glad you're here to listen to what community board members have to say, and that's where we're headed next. The plan with this roundtable is for us to go into some breakout rooms very soon and look at specific issues that representatives from the community boards have identified in the past few meetings. In past meetings, what we've come up with as major issues for the community boards has been rodent problems, as you know, overflowing trash bins, where to put our organic waste, since we don't have curbside yet in many places, illegal dumping, rats. And so we're going to focus on 3 areas when we go into breakout rooms very soon, and we'll strategize on these issues. But before we do that, I want to give each representative from the community boards that are here just 1 minute to express their biggest challenge. I hope that you've gotten the heads up on this already, and you have a little something prepared, but we thought that perhaps we could go backwards with the CB numbers and look at Community Board 18, but I'm not sure if anybody is here from 18.
Sue Ann Partnow is from CB 18.
Oh, Sue Ann, thank you. I didn't see your number there.
So-
Great. So we're going to start with you.
Okay,
Sue
I'm
Ann.
not on video. That's okay, I'm not on video. I would guess that our biggest issue here is dumping. So whenever there's an area that is cleaned up, it's dumped on. We had Boy Scouts and Eagle Scouts clean up a lot of the areas within our district a few times, and some of the areas get dumped on again. And it's upsetting, especially these children. They come, they try their hardest to help the neighborhood, and then garbage is back again. So unfortunately, we have people that leave furniture, just about anything, even their garbage, for whatever reason. They just throw it on the sides of the roads, and and that's pretty much been a problem here.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that there'll be a breakout room for you to strategize on this in a little bit. Thanks for that comment. There's a number of people here from Community Board 17. Perhaps you can pick a spokesperson to talk about your biggest challenge. I'm not sure who that would be. Somebody who's already spoken from Community Board 17, or anyone else want to jump in and talk about your biggest challenge? Or maybe raise your hand if you're muted, and then we'll unmute you.
Vanessa, I've unmuted you, if you want to speak to this.
Oh, sure. What's our biggest challenge? One is the mechanical sweepers not sweeping properly. That's one of our challenges. We don't get consistent sweeping in the community. That's one. And the second one is consistent pickups with the garbage. As Ms. Martinez mentioned, sometimes when it's like holidays, we don't know when they're going to pick up the garbage. So we will get garbage pickup once that week. So because we get garbage pickup twice a week. So if there's a holiday, we'll only get it once that week. They won't come twice that week if there's specifically if there is a holiday.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Who have we got from Community Board 16? Is 16 in the house? Perhaps not. I thought I
It
saw.
doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
Please raise your hand if you are from 16.
No, then maybe let's, how about 15? What have you got for Community Board 15?
Teresa Scavo?
Yes. Okay, corner baskets overflowing with household trash. Illegal dumping, and the waste sanitation empties a pail and throws it half in the street, half on the sidewalk. Those are basically the biggest issues.
Okay. Thank you. I hope they can be addressed. I'm glad that Joan is here from DSNY to take this all in. How about 14? Have we got Community Board 14? Maybe you want to raise your hand if you're here. I don't see any 14s. What about Community Board 13? Lucky number 13. I feel like I'm playing bingo here.
Jeffrey Sana. Give me a second. No, I don't see him. Oh, Lolita, are you okay?
Yes, I am from Community Board 13. I think the biggest challenge we have right now with rats is the park that we have nearby, the Arthur Levy Park, and also, I guess, any park, because there's not very often extermination of rats, and they running rampant. And we also close to boardwalk, and of course, people throwing garbage all over the place. That increases number of rats. And I want to join also the person who spoke to me previously. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name. I think Teresa. Sometimes when the sanitation picks up the bags, they leave some things on the street as well. That's the 3 issues I would say for now, until the season starts with the tourists.
Thanks. I wonder if you need to put need to put the name of the park in the chat so Joan knows what you're talking about. It probably couldn't hurt.
Arthur Levy, I think I got it.
Thank you. And thanks, Lolita. So how about Community Board 12? Have we got?
Hi, I'm Beth.
Hi.
Nice to see those of you who I know. So yes, I'm from Community Board 12, which is Kensington Borough Park and parts of Midwood. I've raised this before, but I'm just going to say it again, that actually the biggest issue with our community board, sanitation aside, is more systemic, and it's like a lack of participation from our actual community board members. We don't really have working committees. I'm working to change that, but we don't have like a sanitation committee. So I come to these and then there's nowhere to bring this information, but I'm working on that. And really my goal is to inspire our board towards more community-oriented solutions rather than a lot of finger pointing, which tends to be what happens. The onus tends to fall on the paid staff of the community board to do like all the legwork on the issues, and there's not a lot of opportunity for our membership to actually take action and solve problems. With that, I'd say the biggest concern sanitation-wise from our community board are missed collections, illegal dumping, and general street litter. But I'm hoping for a more active membership. I did get the word out to our community board, which I feel like a big triumph, just letting them know about this event. But I don't know that anyone else is here, but if you are, holler in the chat.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Beth, and good luck with that. You've got your hands full.
Thank you.
That's a challenge. Thanks. Moving on to Community Board 11. Have we got anybody from 11 here?
I don't think we do, unless somebody raises their hand. We can move along to 10.
Okay. I'm with you on that. Thank you, Liz. How about 10? Somebody from 10 here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Britton. I'm the Environmental Committee Chair for Community Board 10. And I know that we have Josephine Beckman on the call as well, if I miss anything, but I think pretty much the biggest challenges are all of the above. There's a lot of complaints about rats, a lot of illegal dumping, especially southern part of Diker Heights, things like that. I know that, like everyone, we struggle with getting the curbside composting going. I personally would love to see some of these smart compost bins make their way to Southern Brooklyn, or any more community composting facilities. I think in community board we have maybe 2, so it'd be nice to see a lot more of those. Josephine, if you have anything else.
Thank you, Tracy.
1 second, let me just unmute Josephine. Here we go.
Thank you. No, Tracy did a great job. I just wanted to add that we've had a particularly rough time last year with 2 of our parks, Shore Road Park and Diker Beach Park, with rat infestations. Lots of reasons for that. And our Parks and Environmental Committees are planning a cleanup in the month of May together to kind of bring awareness. We're also going to have some focused meetings to try to help with the rat issues that we're experiencing, and largely a lot to do with lots of food in the park during the summer months. But we have lots of burrows that we're working with the Parks Department as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for both of you from CB10. What about number 9? Anyone from number 9?
Doesn't look like it.
Any beetle fans? Okay, then I think then Robert, are you a number 9er?
Julia, Neil, I've unmuted you from CB8.
Yes, hi. CB8 has good day. CB8 has several issues, inclusive of, but not limited to, rats illegal dumping at certain locations, primarily around MTA properties and our underutilized manufacturing zone. Vehicle owners not moving for alternate side parking, which creates just an entire hot mess. Commercial corridors looking as though, to use the words of our sanitation superintendent, a trash bomb went off, and this is a result from mixed use buildings improperly storing their trash, thus leading to misuse of corner baskets. And alas, we were graced with the smart compost bins, and unfortunately not a lot of education on how to use them, and also why composting is necessary.
Okay, that's a mouthful. It's a lot, but we can handle it. There's many of us here. So we might want to go back to 9. Giles, did you want to chime in on since we just realized that you're also from Community Board 9? Or have you already had your say? Did you want to add something, Giles?
No, I think I've had my, I mean, I went to the community meeting last week, and that was a big part of the discussion. We just have rats, and like everybody, but with an open air garbage dump, it's very difficult for any other measures to do anything about the rat population.
Okay.
So
it's all rats all the time. Thank you, Giles. What about Community Board 7? We're moving down into the single digits here. I think I don't see anybody from 7. Okay. Community Board 6. Okay.
I've just unmuted Julia from CB5.
Thank you. Julia?
Oh, maybe she's having connection issues.
There's
Yeah.
a note in the chat from CB5, if folks can read it.
Oh, I think
Some
maybe she
audio
mentioned she had audio issues. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Melinda. I guess we can read that and add that to the record. And
Aaron Williams from CB4.
Okay.
Do we want to read it out quickly for the benefit of those who aren't on the chat easily?
Nothing wrong with that.
Cool. Do you want me to do it?
This is from Melinda Perkins. We cover East New York, Cypress Hills, Starrett City, Broadway Junction, new lots. Please pardon my audio issues. They're pardoned. CB5 shares in the rodent issues, as well as the bin overflow. However, priority concerns are illegal dumping on our IBZ areas. What are IBZ areas? Intercoastal boulevard zones. Anyway, maybe somebody else can tell me what IBZ areas and other sections of the district. Also, the request for CB5 to be seriously considered for a tri-day pickup due to the increase of residents with larger, which is over 5,000 new units of housing in the pipeline. That's a lot of housing. What is the process for this transition? And does the population growth play any role in the decision? Lastly, greater support for our gardens and green spaces with composting bins and collection. CB5 has the largest amount of green spaces and gardens in the borough. Well, that's a lot. I think that it's great that Lacey and Joan are here to take that in. And did we hear from CB4? I'm not sure. Liz?
I'm here from CB4, but I'm brand new on the board, so I don't have a rock solid answer, but I'm going to guess rats and trash overflow.
Okay. Oh, you okay? Everything all right there? Is it the trash or the rats that got you? Thank you for your input. We appreciate it. That takes care of 4. How about from 3?
I'm sorry, Ben Tucker, did you have
Yeah,
something?
sorry,
to
I
contribute?
accidentally muted myself as soon as I got unmuted. I can speak a little bit more on CB4. We trash is such a prevalent issue in our district in Bushwick that not only do we have the sanitation committee, but we also have a sanitation working group to try and work harder on tackling some of these issues. But our top 3 are the classic illegal dumping. We also have a lot of absent landlords or construction that's sort of either abandoned midway through or just stalled, and nobody's taking care of the curb outside of it. And when you call 311, DSNY can only issue a summons to the building owner, but the landlord's just not there doing their daily routine of sweeping the sidewalks. And the other thing is that we have a real big increase in food vendors recently, and just without like an increase in any sort of sanitation around that. And then it's really nice to have them, but the consumers of them are just not really mindful of where they're putting their trash.
Thanks. Right on time. Perfect, Ben. It's good to hear from you, man. It's nice to see you again, Ben. Did we hear from 3? I'm not sure if Community Board 3 is in the house.
We might be able to move along to CB2.
Yeah. I
which
think
is
that's
Betty.
what we do.
Am I unmuted? You hear me?
Yes, you are.
Hi, everyone. You
Hi,
all
Betty.
rock. I'm happy to meet you all on this venue. So in CB2, we're like the downtown Brooklyn neighborhood. So as a result, we're very congested with traffic. As a result, nobody obeys the alternate side parking. People just park here and leave their cars. So the street sweeping is not able to be effective. Like today on my block alone, about 12 tickets were written. You know, it took a while for us to get enforcement to come in to even ticket, but half of the cars have out-of-state license plates. It's not really making a difference. And as a result, the streets are filthy, loads of rats, overflowing trash baskets. But I want to speak to an issue that no one has raised before, which is large schools. You have large schools, 6,000 or more students. They're eating a lot of lunch or food. There's a lot of bags. The bags get piled up outside the school, taller than I am. And they can stay for a very long time. And that increases the rats. And it's totally ineffective, the timing of when the custodians are able to bring out the trash to when the sanitation comes. So we've spoken to the school construction authority, and they say they're not allowed to build like holding bins or other type of bins for this because their money is allocated to increase student learning facilities, right? More classrooms. So not only are large schools where the trash is up to like 6 feet high, but even your small schools, you have the trash out, they bring it out Friday at 4 o'clock. It might not be picked up until Monday. So not only do the rats have a feast, but other people then see trash and add their own personal trash to the trash. So one has a lot of trash. So that's, you know, the problem with schools, which we've had forever, and various schools have had meetings, et cetera, but I think that's an issue, not just within a community board, but borough-wide or citywide, need to be addressed because schools have lots of trash.
Thank you,
Thank you
Betty.
for listening.
Thank you, Betty. That's a valid point. And thank you, thank you, Joan, for hanging in there on all this. It's a lot for you to digest, I'm sure. We've got CB1, we've got Steve Chesler here. You've been very patient, Steve. If you want to take a minute to talk about your biggest challenges in your community board.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm Steve Chesler. I'm chair in the Environmental Protection Committee at CB1, North Brooklyn. Yeah, we similarly, rats are a huge problem, just on the streets, in the parks, and along with that are overflowing bins on street corners, along commercial districts, and throughout and in the parks. And just, yeah, the mountains, we have, a accelerating development boom along our waterfront with 40-story towers going up, and then with it, multi-story piles of trash along the, and along their sidewalks. And then just one other thing I would add is we have, compost drop-off locations in or near 3 parks, but they're in the more affluent areas that actually have parks. In other parts of district where they're lacking in green space, that option is not available. So I think that's something that needs to be pursued,
Right.
priority. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Steve, and thanks for being here. Thank you, all of you, for expressing yourselves within that 1-minute time frame. That was good. Is there anybody that did not have an opportunity? Are there any community boards that have not been represented in that 1-minute shout out that you all had? Then I think these are things that hopefully you're going to be taking back to your breakout rooms, or not back to. We're going to be setting up breakout rooms next. Sherry has got that all under her thumb, and she's going to allow, or we're going to allow you to pick a breakout room depending on what you would like to focus on. There's one room that we used to call the rat room, but it's not. It's really just a rodent focused room where people who want to really pursue that can. There's another breakout room that is more about organics and organic waste and dealing with it. And then the third one is a very large topic, and it's focused on, for the most part, overflowing trash bins and illegal dumping on the street. So how do folks find those? I guess, Sherry, you can make those available now, and we're going to give you 20 minutes in those. We're going to have a moderator from the BkSWAB in there to help move things along. That's going to be either Michael or Debbie or Bella. And I think those are the moderators. So Sherry, if you want to go for it, to pick a breakout room. After 20 minutes in the breakout room, we're going to call you back to the mothership here, where we will share our outcomes. And in these breakout rooms, your agenda is essentially to focus on strategies for that particular issue as best you can. Feel free to make use of that resource list that's been made available to you. What am I forgetting? Anything else?
I think we had to just make a quick adjustment to 15 minutes in the breakout room so that we could hear from all of you and spend the time that we just did, which was great, but we'll bring that to 15 minutes and then we'll do a share back and learn. And if I've set everything up properly, you should be able to move around between rooms as well. I know sometimes there's, not everybody just has one thing to review and talk about. So I'm going to open them up now, and you will need to choose the room that you would like to go to. So you will not be pre-assigned. Okay.
Thanks, Sherry. Yes.
I'm on an iPhone and I can't find the breakout room situation.
Which one do you want to go to, Betty?
Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good time in your breakout room. I hope it was productive. I just had time to step down to the corner and get myself a pint, and I'm ready to hear. I'm ready to hear now from all of you. Hopefully, you can pull together a spokesperson from your breakout room and share some of your ideas, some strategies that you've come up with to deal with the particular issue. Not in any particular order, but maybe we could start with if it's okay, could we start with the organics team? Maybe if someone from that organics team could raise their hand, step up, and we'll make sure you're on mic and you can share what some of the major takeaways were from your strategy session, some best practices maybe, or some ideas for dealing with organics issues. Does that mean you, Bella? I see you're smiling there, Bella.
Okay. Well, we had representation from CB10 and CB8, and just basically how there was some positive talk about having the smart bins, but how there needs to be a lot more education about why composting is so important, and just putting a bin on a corner, there needs to be a little bit more involvement with the community, and also how important composting sites are to build community within certain areas or within Brooklyn. I think that's basically, but just how important composting is in general. Anyone else want to touch on anything I'm forgetting?
Betty, do you want to add to that? No. I'm not sure who else was in your room. I don't remember, Bella.
I guess I also just want to say some of the downsides or issues that still need to be figured out with the smart bins are some compost bins are full and others on the other side of the district are being unused because people there may not be familiar. So there are some bins on like the boundaries between two community districts where one has it and one doesn't. So those are always full. And it looks like the frequency of pickup ranges from several times a week to daily for some of the bins. In Crown Heights, one of the issues is that they never really had Christmas tree recycling or leaf pickup. But now they have a lot of compost bins, but for residents who didn't warm up to composting for yard waste, I guess they'll need more education about food waste recycling. And also it seems like some people don't know how to use the bin, so the food scraps get left alongside the bin, which kind of defeats the purpose of mitigating the rat issues. And then also with some of the in historic Crown Heights, the there wasn't enough notification to the community that the bins were coming. So now some people are demanding that the bin get moved because it's outside their property. So yeah, just, yeah, it goes back to education and outreach.
Thank you. And like Bella said, community involvement is critical also. Those are good points to keep in mind for going forward. Thanks. Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Bella. Is there anybody else from organics, or could we move on to maybe the next group? I know that the group on illegal dumping had a huge number of people there. I'm sure that your ears are burning. Whoever wants to speak there. Ali, are you the spokesperson for that group?
Not officially, but I was the note taker, so I could perhaps make a start, and then anybody else who could jump in, feel free to do so. So we had, as Mark mentioned, a lot of people in the room, so we didn't really get a chance to hear thoroughly from every person in the room, but we heard from community boards 17, 1, 4, 12, and 5. And there was a lot of chat about just overflowing bins and dumping, as the name of the group would suggest. So a lot of talk about corner baskets overflowing and what potentially the issues are around them and what the issues they cause. You know, whether it's creating more rats, whether it's creating more litter because they are overflowing. And there was talk about construction waste, where new developments happen and then construction waste is left and left for a long time before it's picked up, which is very unsightly. It was mentioned that in certain areas where there's a lot of foot traffic, whether it's around a school, for instance, or around a construction development where a lot of workers are coming and going, there tends to be more litter there. So there's issues with street cleaning around there. Sorry, just going through the notes. The location and number of street bins was questioned. Sometimes it's apparently hard to get, or impossible to get, street bins in certain corridors. So that makes it problematic. So sometimes there are areas where, for instance, there are lots of dog walkers, and then there's nowhere to put your dog poop when your dog does a poop, and you have to walk for ages to find a bin. So that sucks. And then with big developments, there's sometimes not enough space for the waste that's produced by large residential developments. So either they have containers, wheeled bins, but they get full and there's lots of side waste, or they don't have them at all and there's just tons of bags on the street. There are a few kind of hot spots mentioned for illegal dumping, which I won't go through in detail, but I've just made a note of, and we can pass them on. But in terms of some of the actions and like potential solutions that we talked about through the conversation, there's the potential for more surveillance and enforcement of things like construction projects and how quickly they get rid of their waste, more education and outreach particularly around the smart compost bins and how to use them, and just in general about all the different waste facilities available. The potential for getting more bins through funding from the council member, so reaching out to the council member. And I know community boards make a statement of needs every year, don't they? So in areas where litter basket waste is a big problem, then more litter baskets could be in the statement of needs potentially. We'll want to see the smart bins expanded. So there are smart bins throughout more of the city for composting, and more education and outreach put into that, so that people know how to use them, and it's a bit more kind of readily available than it is at the moment. And then potentially changing the rules about where street bins could be placed, and also to push the adopt a basket program a bit more, that would enable people to take a bit more ownership on the street bins in their neighborhood. So that's what I've got in a slightly lengthy nutshell. If anybody wants to add to it, please do.
I'll just add, the interagency partnerships was raised several times. Interagencies like DOT and DSNY, and Parks Department and DSNY, because the parks specifically were mentioned by many as a place where there's so much waste and so much dumping, and could benefit from smart compost bins in the parks, for example. And also smart compost bins next to places where there's a lot of waste, like Church Avenue, for example, where there's tons of overflowing garbage. And as, of course, that would require the education and the outreach. But yes, those were, and another potential solution was raised by someone, cameras doing surveillance, and also that the enforcement is missing on some of the.
Thank you. That's good. You presented a few kind of ideas and, you know, areas where we might actually come up with some solutions, and you know, some things that keep coming up are more education and community involvement and surveillance. And I like the idea of interagency cooperation is always good. We have one more group that talked about our friends, the rodents. And it'd be great to hear from those folks. Was that, were you the note taker there, Michael?
Yeah, I was the note taker. Yep. So, so basically, we talked about problems in the parks with rats, a lot of littering and behavioral issues, basically behavioral issues. Trash sitting on the curb for a long time, not being picked up by sanitation, you know, being put out on a day and then not being picked up for several days. Let's see, and enforcement, lack of enforcement, especially around alternate side parking, where people don't obey the alternate side parking laws. They get the tickets, but they don't move the cars, and so they can't clean, you know, they can't clean the streets. Let's see. That education has to start in schools. The kids are more open to learning about new ways of managing waste, like composting, for example, and need to hold landlords more accountable. Again, that enforcement thing. Rats in tree pits, construction waste, containerization. A lot of, you know, problems where really large buildings putting out enormous amounts of trash, and not having containerization for the trash. And then also you know, how bins with attached lids are actually better, you know, for you know, if you can keep the lid on the trash, then it's less accessible to rats. And so being able to, you know, outfit neighborhoods with those lids with, I mean, cans with integrated lids, buying them wholesale, you know, having a community group buy them wholesale, that kind of thing.
If I could just add one more thing, and that was also the importance of communicating, taking the organics out of trash, which would then reduce having the rat bait in the trash.
Thank you. You know, these bins with attached lids would solve a lot of problems, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be nice if there was a massive funding for residents to get those bins with attached lids? It would solve a number of. But anyway, that's enough about what I think.
Mark, could I just jump in 1 second? Because I heard a couple of sort of related comments, and I'm hoping maybe I could put Joan on the spot for a second. If folks see, you know, the overflowing corner baskets or what appears to be, you know, trash not being picked up when, you know, if they've set it out the day before pickup, is that a 311 complaint that folks should file, or what's the best course of action?
Absolutely. Filing a 311 complaint is the best way for us to have data on where the problems are happening. Obviously, this is the audience of community boards, and you all have access to my team of community affairs liaisons. So, I always want to encourage you to file the 311 complaint so that we have the data to back it up. But if you, want to reach out to the community affairs liaison or your district super, that's another option as well. But yeah, always looking to get the data from whether it's an overflowing basket complaint or a miscollection complaint, whichever things that you have problems with, you can let us know. And for those of you talking about surveillance, happy to hear locations of illegal dumping so that we can vet those for camera surveillance as well as in-person surveillance from our enforcement teams. And then I'll definitely take back a lot of the comments about education on composting and how we're going to do that as this curbside composting rolls out throughout the city. I'm excited to be able to bring that information to everyone over the course of the next year.
That's wonderful to hear, Joan, because there's so much education that needs to be done. And, the question is, how is it going to be done and where is it going to happen? But I had one question for you also concerned with litter. What kind of success has there been with this adopt a litter basket program that I've read a little bit about?
Yeah, our Adopt a Basket program is a great opportunity for small businesses to, small or large, it could be a business of any size, to take responsibility of the basket on their corner. So if there's a litter basket at a corner, Department of Sanitation will give the property owner or the store owner bags to take out the bag of garbage so that it doesn't overflow. And when the bag is about 3/4 of the way full, tie it up, pull it out, put it on the side of the litter basket, and then put a new bag in. And then that reduces the amount of litter on the curb because the baskets aren't overflowing. And it allows us to, continue to pick up on our schedule, whether we're picking up from one basket 3 times a week or 3 times a day. There's a whole lot that goes into our routing. So I know someone had mentioned funding more baskets. Just purchasing baskets isn't enough. There needs to be basket service to go along with that. I think sometimes the two don't always connect for everyone. So definitely, if you're interested in more baskets, it's not necessarily just funding the baskets. It's also funding the service to pick them up more frequently.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Joan. I'm wondering if other people have got any comments in general. I see, Ben, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question for Joan as well, regarding like investing in cameras or just various investments for enforcing the illegal dumping. This is sort of like the only aspect of sanitation that generates revenue because the illegal dumping fines are pretty high. Is there any sort of like traction for DSNY maybe pitching for more funding specifically for that? Because it does generate revenue for the city when you catch people, and then also they get the DSNY gets like the good clip for Instagram or whatever. So I was just curious about like increasing funding for cameras or whatever general enforcement.
Yeah, we've gotten city funding for, I don't want to give you an exact number, many cameras. We are increasing our camera inventory by leaps and bounds this year. We've rolled it out last year. We've caught lots of people. And then this year, not only random council members have provided funding for surveillance cameras in their districts, we've also gotten funding, citywide funding to put out those cameras as well. And we'll see as we expand the program, how much more funding we need. I don't want to say, give us more, because we're still in the process of rolling out with what we have.
Thank you. Thank you. Good question. I just wanted to point out something that was in the chat that Betty asked about getting a community educator from DSNY at community events to talk about these issues. And I think that's such a great idea. I've been thinking about that at my local library. And what you had to say there, Joan, was good. I think you essentially that contacting DSNY and you did you put a link in the chat? I don't.
I did. It's
so
on.nyc.gov/event request. So there's an event participation request form. You can always fill that out and we can have someone, whether it's someone who's compost specific educator or just general DSNY, give us the details of what you want in the form and we'll get back to you.
I think that's a great idea because it keeps coming up. We need more education and we need more outreach and more community involvement.
I did see one other question in the chat, Mark, if you don't mind me cutting you off, sorry.
Go for it.
People asked, Liz asked if they could use tilt containers the way that the schools do. The residential buildings are required to stick to a container that is 55 gallons or less. I think those tilt trucks that the schools use are larger than that. So 55 gallons or less if you're going out to buy containers for your building.
Yes, good to know. That's very good to know. Other people have comments as we are winding down here. We're just about finished. I think going forward, I'm hoping that we can have more of these in a couple months to refine some of these strategies. I know that's my hope. Other hopes on the horizon from other people. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Otherwise, I'd want to thank you all for being here, especially Joan from DSNY and Lacey from Borough President Reynoso's office. I'm so glad that you guys were here for the whole 9 yards, as they say. Really great to have your presence, and I know you're going to be bringing all this information back. Any closing words from you, Lacey, or anyone else from BkSWAB? No.
Maybe we can squeeze in one more
really
question.
Happy to see so many people here. I know, I mean, we've got some real issues that we need to deal with, but it's nice to see the passion and people who care about their communities. And I just want to thank you all for all the work that you've been doing in your communities.
Yeah, I'll second that. It's such a great turnout, and it's nice to see so many committed people that are committed to these issues. I'm hoping that we can move forward on these. Sherry, you had your hand up, I'm sure, or no? Oh, maybe you were giving a thumbs up.
I was clapping. I didn't. Hazel had their hand up. I don't know if they wanted to add something.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I thought that as a long-term thing, we need to change. I don't know who set this ruling that, if we see something and we take a complaint or we see someone dumping, that DSNY employees have to see it for themselves. So we can't, it's really not easy to report something, or else you have to fill out all sorts of affidavits. They can't take your video or anything like that.
Well, it seems like the 311 reporting is the best on this.
But then, they won't catch the person at that rate.
No, it's tough. You have to be quick.
Yeah, Hazel, if you have specific locations, happy to take them back and have the team vet them for cameras.
Yeah, especially, there's the Farragut Road corridor between Utica and Kings Highway. That's notorious. And then we have new ones popping up every day. We have, outside of every park in this 17 district, and on Clarendon Road at the Clarendon Mall. It's between 57th and 58th Streets, East 57 and East 58. You'll see it's a growing, now it's almost on the sidewalk.
Okay, I'll take that back. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazel. And also, just in case you didn't see it, there is a note in the chat about our next meeting on April 3rd by the general meeting for Brooklyn Solid Waste Advisory Board. It's open to the public. Take a look at that if you're interested. I forget what's on the agenda for April 3rd, but there's always great speakers. Oliver and Sherry and Liz come up with some wonderful people. So please join us. And these kinds of discussions continue in that forum also. Thanks a million.
I'm just going to jump in to say
Yes.
April 3rd will be in person at Brooklyn Borough Hall and on Zoom. And our speaker is Sra from East New York Farms. So we'll learn more about what they do. And I wanted to also take the opportunity to thank everyone for joining, and thank you, Mark, for moderating, and thank everyone for participating and sharing all of your concerns and what's already been echoed here about your support and your hard work in your communities. So we really appreciate that. And we'll have more of these. We plan for 3 per year. So you're going to start to see our emails, and we hope that you will join us again.
Hear, hear. Thank you all. Thanks. I think that's winding it up. Unless you want to stick around and trade war stories or any decomposition jokes, I think that's probably about it.